Welcome back to another Fast Five. We're going to flip through a whole bunch of your beers and end up having to choose between a Western or a crime. Stay tuned to find out.
Hello, and welcome back.
Oh, I was supposed to pick that up.
And if you're new here,
I did it again.
it's me bigger. I got it.
I know it now.
Hello, and welcome back.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for checking in.
Yeah, and if you're new here,
I'm Jon.
and I'm Harrison.
And you're listening to Beer Me That Movie, where we turn crazy beer names into crazier movie ideas.
That's right.
And before we go ahead with this, make sure you take a moment now and subscribe to us on the podcast app you're listening to. If you haven't done that already, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. But I mean, really, we all kind of forget things, like the way your phone starts buzzing in your pocket and you realize you're 5 minutes late for a meeting. And also big thanks to our growing fan base. We've been seeing some great commentary by our friends, old and new, on YouTube, on Instagram. So don't forget, you can ask us direct questions, submit movie ideas, answer polls. All that good stuff happens on the internet, as well as many other things.
Right. But we do all the good stuff, so follow us. Okay, so as always, we're going to start off one of these Fast Five shows with a nice little recap of last week. And holy guacamole, Jon. So last week we did Juicy Bits from WeldWorks. We saw the beer and didn't even think it was worth doing a Fast Five on. And now we may have just created Banana Wheel 2.0. What do you think? What are your thoughts about last week?
Honestly, I had so much fun making the little commercial spot for the porn convention and the video.
If you haven't watched it, get over to YouTube or Instagram. Watch that. It's amazing.
It was Juicy Bits' Banana Whale 2.0 is probably because there's a place in my heart for Banana Whale.
There always will be.
The film and perhaps the real Banana Whale, you'll never know. But also the 90s. Can they be nostalgic already? I think I am. Like it felt great going back and thinking through them.
Yes, I think every fashion company also agrees that they can be nostalgic, and there's lots of money to be made remembering the 90s. But yeah, it was cool to go back there, talk about video games and porn. Two great things, and really part of hopefully most people's childhood. I don't
Yeah.
certain teenage years, let's say. Growing up in the 90s was a hoot, and it felt like, I mean, it was a life. Half of that was a life I never lived. The other half, the video game half, was one I was more familiar with. But still, again, it was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Got some cool feedback from it, so we always appreciate that.
What about the critics? What do you think, Harrison? Was there anything you going back and re-listening to it? Are there any changes you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned it on that show, or maybe I mentioned it on the Fast Fives. We were kind of talking about what Juicy Bits could be, but like the movie The Girl Next Door, that was one I liked. I think it came out in the early 2000s though, but I kept thinking as we were making Juicy Bits, is this too similar? It has nothing to do with video games. It's all about kind of a girl in the porn industry doesn't want to be there anymore, and she's the girl next door to the protagonist. So I don't think it was, but it did keep popping up in my head of like, are we walking down too similar a path? But maybe that just shows how few movies there are about porn out there, that like the one I could think of was all I could think of and kept popping up in my mind. So I think I was being too critical there, but really I usually have like a slew of notes, or at least a few. I don't. As always, I'll say this on most episodes, we invent these movies on the spot, so this was a rough draft, but in my mind it was a rough draft that like we could sit down and now take a crack at writing the entire movie. We don't really need to do much more outlining, so that was cool to have the Juicy Bits be so kind of complete right out of the gate. What about you? Any thoughts, Jon? Any things you'd change?
It was easy for me to love that concept. I think Probably could have spent more time researching porn myself. That's something I'm going to make an effort to do more
Good
of
for
now.
you, John.
And I'm doing research. Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. Get out of here. It's a public restroom. Do whatever I want in here.
I really liked the way workshop in that movie with you felt like it had more bones. Like you said, like it had kind of, there were story beats where I hope to you as a listener, it was easier to kind of follow along with the movie.
Yep.
And what I was thinking is maybe at the end of our next log line, we'd finish up with like a recap, or at the end of our next feature film, we'd finish up with a log line, like for Juicy Bits, it would be boy enters video game contest to save his family's house, and there's a porn convention next door.
Right. Distracted. Right. But is this right? Will he be too distracted by his girlfriend who's next door at a porn convention or something like that? Right. What's the inciting incident or the tension there? That's a cool idea. Maybe we'll be able to do that on the next feature we do. I like that. But yeah, it was a blast.
And that pretty much does it for wrapping up last week. If you haven't seen Juicy Bits, do me and hopefully yourself a favor and go check it out. So far, it's my favorite one.
I love Dale. I love Tad. That commercial that John made, you have to watch it. Just, don't make sure your Bluetooth speaker that's in the kitchen is unplugged from your phone before you do, and you do it in the privacy of a bathroom or something, or your room or whatever. Anyway, not a work trailer, not I'm on the bus with a bunch of people trailer. It's not that bad. It's great. It's hilarious, and really love that you did that for us, John. So thanks again. You're a wizard. Okay, so with that, yes, done recapping. Now we get to do what we all love, John.
I believe the phrase is shift into the future. It's time for Fast Five. I don't even know where that came from, but I love it. It's part of the show.
Right. We're never going to call it Fast 20, so stop sending us messages. It'll always be Fast 5.
It's Fast 5 regardless of how many beers happen. And speaking of beers, what are we drinking?
Yeah, so as John pulls up good old drunk Twitter, we'll talk about this week's beer that we are enjoying, giving us a little bit of liquid inspiration. So this week we went with another local one. So this is Carolina Blonde Ale from Foothills Brewing out in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. A 4.3% blonde from the brewery, a Carolina original brewed with hops, barley, and sunshine. From the Blue Ridge to the beach, this light and refreshing beer is perfect for that laid-back spirit that defines the Carolinas. I am always, if you followed us on Drinking Socially before this, you may remember that every spring and summer, I'm kind of always hunting for my lager of the summer. Blonde ale sneaks in though sometimes, and this one has done it. You may also, John and I also, if you're watching this on YouTube, came prepared. We're vibing out hard with some Carolina summer. We look like we are about to drown in a houseboat somewhere outside of a Margaritaville, but with a smile on our face. So we're vibing hard with this Carolina Blonde tonight. It's great. I will probably be enjoying this all summer. So that's what's fueling us tonight. But again, not the movies, just fueling our brains. The movies, those beers are going to come right now.
From Untappd.
From
Although
you guys.
Carolina Blonde wouldn't be, that'd be a fun movie. I'm married a Carolina Blonde.
Hey,
I think.
yes,
Actually, I don't know what her real hair color is. But
you'll learn that in time. You got to get to know each other a little better.
It's been blonde a lot sometimes. Yeah. So
what's in a hair color?
All right.
Okay, we're in.
You know what? Normally we do the Wheel of Fate.
We do.
But as I open up the activity feed
perhaps
here,
fate's already dealt us a good hand.
Sometimes she does, right? I guess there's three of them. Sometimes. One of them. Anyways.
You're right.
I'm going to start off the top.
All right. What do we got?
From Bob P. Drinks a beer from Green Check Beer. Your dad called.
I think it's Green Cheek, but yes, your dad
thanks,
called.
Harrison.
Your dad called. Your dad called.
Yeah, Green Cheek. Your dad called.
Your dad called. Shoot, it's Juicy Bits 2. No, this is this is your dad called. Okay, so this feels like everything feels like a 90s comedy to me. Let's not let it be that. Good. John's got it. No,
I don't.
Okay.
But Ooh, I forgot to mention. So there's a little twist.
That's right. There's a twist tonight.
In tonight's Fast Five.
Alert.
Hopefully it's fun or we'll never do it again. But we asked you all on YouTube and on Instagram what genre you want us to pick, and Harrison was compiling the data.
That's right. So we put 2 different polls up. One of them on YouTube, one on Instagram, and the options, I believe, were like crime, Western, or sci-fi. What should we look for as the next kind of feature during the next Fast Five? And YouTube and Instagram gave us very different results. So crime won by a landslide. 75% of the votes went to crime on YouTube. So thank you everybody there that voted. On Instagram, though, Western at 67%. So maybe we'll be doing a stagecoach robbery movie tonight. I don't know. It's the first time we've done it. So I think what John and I have kind of decided is we'll be on the lookout for both a crime or a Western style, or what could be a crime movie or a Western style movie. Maybe we end up combining them. Who knows? But that is something we have on our mind tonight as we rip through these things. So now you guys know also the inside scoop on that.
And so your dad called. Not Western because of the call. Your
Could
dad
have been like called you in for dinner, kind of a yell across the meadow. But you're right. Maybe not. Maybe not. It doesn't need to be.
Your dad called. This changes a lot of what I was initially thinking, but I mean, thinking of it in the genre of, I'm going to try and favor crime because that technically won. And here in America, we like to give awards to those who technically win. That was loaded.
Yes, we do.
So your dad called the crime movie. I feel like this is someone getting pulled back into the mob.
It could be. I was going to say that was my first thought too. If we're looking at crime, your dad called. It's like maybe called in your what's it, marker? Called you owe this guy one. Your dad, I guess. Maybe he's the big mafia head of the mafia family in Providence, Rhode Island, or whatever. Runs all the trucking companies through Providence, and you as the son left that world behind, but you always knew he'd call one day and reel you back in. And so it's this story of a young man who's trying to run from his past and ends up kind of taking over the family business. And at that point, does he run it into the ground? Does he try to turn it straight? Does he just accept that the acorn didn't fall too far from the tree? The meatball didn't roll too far from the plate?
That's better. That's how we say it in the family.
I thought I'd heard that before. Something like that. So it could be a kind of a Godfather-esque type deal. I don't know. That's what I'm seeing if we're gonna jump into crime or Western.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wasn't prepared for that, and so I'm gonna skip your dad called. I mean, what I initially thought was like it's a businessman. He misses a call from his dad.
I like that.
And his dad leaves a voicemail, but it's like all garbled. And when he tries to call his dad back, no one answers. And he finds out that his dad died. And you know, as they're like going through the house, there's a safe upstairs, and he's like, I gotta figure out what's on this message, which I suppose could still be crime. Maybe the safe's full of kidneys.
Into a crime, right. You never know. And really, I think for the crime or Western, that can just be like, if it looks obvious, then we lean into it. If it's not there, if we get something like, you know, Gobbledygooks from Outer Space IPA, then that could be a sci-fi movie. But if it looks like it, we can try to fit it into the crime or Western hole, and if it doesn't fit, whatever.
Okay,
let's
that.
Let's not let it rain on our parade. Let's just let it be another fun little wrinkle. All right, what's next? Beer number 2 from
up next from Eric. Project Halo Brewing
cool name.
Gives us Chill Brah.
Chill Brah. I mean, that could, man. Oh boy. Okay, so now all I can think about are crime movies. But I can't do this one because it already exists. But as soon as I hear Chill Brah, I think of the Point Break surfer dudes robbing banks. That would be something they would say to someone. But let's not do that.
But you could still do like a bank heist.
Okay.
You got like these kind of old timers. They're maybe running their last heist. But the driver ends up being, what's the young kids? Gen Z?
I think
Gen
so.
Z.
Yeah.
And they're taking it all seriously, and he's just like, chill, bro. I mean, that's not a movie, that's a bad story, but
it's a funny secondary character. How about this though? Bank robbers, surfer bank robbers, their plan, oh boy, this is gonna be ridiculous out of the gate, but who cares, is to like freeze everyone in the bank with some safe liquid nitrogen or something. Chill, brah. And that's how they rob banks. They like freeze the people in the bank and just go.
They don't rob banks. They rob in frozen baby cells.
Okay, they could steal like embryos and little coolers and things and sell them on the black market. That'd be pretty dark, but possible. How about this? So maybe that's what they think they're hired to do, but the lab they rob doesn't have embryos of people. It has embryos of like extinct animals, like the 10-foot tall like American cave bear and a woolly mammoth and stuff. They don't know that, and unwillingly release a huge horde of monster beasts that were dead when they drop those off at whatever crime family wants to use them for whatever ridiculous. They want to use a mammoth, an army of mammoths,
Manhattan.
or with an army of mammoths.
Hannibal
and
did it
bears.
with elephants.
That's right. We're gonna get hairy elephants. This is just some rich kid, some crypto bro who has a horrible idea to go take over the island of Manhattan with a bunch of mammoths, and these poor surfer dudes are the ones that steal it. That would be something.
The chill bra tells me that it's got to be like half comedy though, and
yes, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about woolly mammoths running down Broadway.
Fair,
this is going to be ridiculous.
crime finds a way.
I love it. That's it. Boom.
All right,
That's
I'm going to move on from this guy here.
Okay. All
We're
right.
going to check out from Jim. Chive Sea Bar and Lounge is where he's at. He's drinking a beer from Service Brewing Company called Rally Point.
Well, that kind of speaks. That could be Western or crime. Rally Point, kind of like a meeting point, right?
Yeah, effectively.
So, man, maybe here we go. Ooh. I don't want to get ahead of myself. How about, so it's a group of, let's say like Western group of like 6 guys. They're robbing, let's say a bank, keep it easy. And something goes wrong. The bank tellers had guns, didn't think they did. The shootout happens. They all get split up. But they've agreed before the robbery that they're going to meet at the mouth of the old mine as their rally point. And so the story kind of starts for the audience, though, with just one guy walking there. And maybe he's got like a limp, and he's like, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be the last one there. Get to the rally point, and no one else is around. And so the movie is him trying to figure out, like, basically, was he the first one there? Was he the last one there? Did everybody else die? And maybe one other guy shows up and he's like, we were betrayed. And so it's like a murder mystery whodunit crime movie where they got to go like back into the town and basically be a detective of their own crime to figure out what happened, who has the money. The money's not there. No, the guys who made it to the rally point didn't have the money. And so they're trying to find every other bank robber to figure out who stole and took it for themselves.
How long is this? Is this long enough to just say this is it?
We knew eventually we'd hit our feature within the first 3 beers. Maybe tonight's the night. I mean, we could still go for a bit, but we can put a little tally mark on.
I'm gonna
Rally
mentally
Point.
bookmark Rally Point, and then I'm gonna forget later.
That's a tough movie, but it's a fun. But whatever, we don't shy away from those things here. Beer me that movie. We're ready for the tough and the rough.
I love the concept, just the opening scene, and I already have so many questions about this,
and I have none of the answers. So that's usually a good first step to it's going to be an interesting feature.
Okay, Rally Point is on the short list.
It is on the short list. Thank you, Jim.
Let's move down from Jim's beer. We see from Ken drinking Pilsner Quell. Great beer. Hard movie. Matt K from Celestial Beerworks gives us It's All Happening.
Oh, man. What a great phrase, which I think became famous or made famous by Almost Famous, I think, is the movie that I mean, they say it a lot in that movie. It's all happening. So does it fit into crime or Western? It probably could. Let me see, though. And I don't want it to just be an Almost Famous ripoff. It could be like an origin story, though, of Penny, what's her face, who says that all the time in that movie. But let's keep me from doing origin stories all night.
It's the origin story of Popeye. It's all happening.
Appleseed, right? My forearms, they're growing. It's all happening. What else could It's All Happening be about or be referencing? It's all happening. This could be like a, like that, what's it called? Everything, everywhere, all at once. A movie
no way could I keep up with that.
We can't. I don't know. We can make that movie. That's like a kaleidoscope inside a Rubik's cube, and I don't have the brain capacity for that tonight. But it could be something like that. It's all happening, kind of like the quantum reality of at any moment there are millions of other yous and millions of other universes doing something, and we've had one like this before, like a sliding doors type movie where you one decision you get to see the protagonist faced with an obstacle and they make two different decisions and you get to see what happens.
Are you talking about Window Seat Daydream?
Well, that was the feature, obviously a feature we did.
Oh, okay.
I think it was a shorter movie that we like just briefly talked about that it was similar to Sliding Doors, which is kind of like the archetype, I guess, of that kind of movie. So it could be something like that, some kind of quantum realm, multiple reality thing that maybe someone starts slipping between, which is kind of like Everything Everywhere All at Once. But anyway, that's what I have. Not a Western or a crime movie, although maybe we could fit it in there.
I mean, you could probably the crime qualifier. I'm stuck there. So if you don't like crime movies, hopefully you do by the end of this Fest 5 or the idea. But I was like, so there's another. We're planning a crime. Maybe it's like a museum robbery, just to change up from the bank.
Good, love
and
it.
We've got these eventualities that we have to work around. Like there's going to be the Sutton guards there, and then there's going to be this other thing, and so the criminals, they get in where it's like past the point of no return.
Okay.
Like, oh my God, the guards here. They're usually not here Wednesdays. And then something else that we plan for
this.
And it's all happening. And now they're like, this somewhat simple heist has turned into how do we escape with our lives and the Mona Lisa.
Yes, I love that. Or a T-Rex, entire T-Rex skeleton. They're in like the middle of a Rube Goldberg machine, basically, where everything is happening and colliding and dominoing right towards them. Everything could go wrong, went wrong for them. How do they get out? I like that. That's fun too. I love that. Cool. We did it.
It was fair. It was fair. Good, fair, fast, 5.
Yeah.
Scrolling forward, we get Riley checking into Mitten Life from Seeds Brewery.
Mitten Life. Mitten Life, an American lager.
on the check-in, Riley just says "Mitten Life!" exclamation point. There's no clues in this one.
What am I missing out on? What does Mitten Life mean? What is that? Is that just not a glove guy? Mitten Life. You like having a difficult
it's the
time
slogan
shoveling?
for living in Michigan.
Oh, okay. It could be. That's actually a good call. And that would be a fun movie, kind of a backpacking, road tripping movie, just about how cool Michigan could be in the summer, not the winter, but the summer, and living Mitten Life. Now, if it's a crime movie, maybe like Mitten Life, like that's the sentence you get when you get sent to northern Michigan and have to chip away at ice as part of your punishment for some crime you committed.
Yes.
You get Mitten Life.
Instead of the prison system we know, it's a slightly alternate history where prison is just being sent to Michigan to mine ice.
In the cold, to just mine ice. Because ice is the currency of the future, as we all know. So maybe that's it. You just, instead of Siberia, Michigan becomes our Siberia in 2050. And we have to use the people who have the Mitten Life sentences.
They caught me writing bad checks. I got 3 to 5 months of Mitten Life.
Mitten Life. Be chipping away. I bring my own axe. Right, and then maybe there's a prison escape from Mitten Life to freedom, but they all freeze. I don't know. It could be like a Great Escape type movie.
You can swim to Canada. It's got to be better.
We can't swim. We can walk there. It's all frozen. So I like that. Okay, that's something. Mitten life, a sentence in the future for being sent away to mine ice in Michigan.
Sounds better.
I mean, it sounds horrible, but yes.
One mint from Mark D. Grimm Artisanals gives us one mint Heaven Hill.
One mint.
I want it
One
to be
mint.
moment,
Me
but
too.
it's not.
Definitely not. Own mint.
Own mint.
Own mint.
I'm gonna skip that one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
too.
okay.
Heaven, yeah, that's very. Heaven Hill's very bourbony, but very curious. It's like a bourbon barrel aged beer.
We'll move. Oh boy.
How much golly,
we'll move
these-
down to Tom's Beer
All
from
right,
Root and
Tom.
Branch. They show up a lot here.
They do.
This is okay. The beer title is "Do We Live in a Society of Spectacle?"
Do we live in a society of spectacle? Probably.
I mean, I want to answer yes.
Spectacle.
I mean that could be like if we introduce a crime element to the movie, it's like a traveling, not like gypsy, but like or those nomad,
good.
Romanian.
Got it. Yep.
It's a traveling showman.
Okay.
Maybe this takes place in like the 70s.
Okay. Nice.
And think like the lifestyle of like a Tupperware door-to-door salesman, but
okay.
it's a showman, and he's like a traveling magician, and the spectacle is entrancing. As entrancing as the TikTok algorithm, and as he's spectacling you, he's lifting things from your house or your purse or something like that.
Wow, do we live in a society of spectacle? And that's right. He's just moving through the Midwest. Staying away from Michigan though, but it's the 70s. Midlife hasn't happened
He
yet.
hasn't been caught
Right,
yet.
but yeah, he's just robbing old women blind and housewives blind as he entrances them. That is, I like that. That's different and right, not the obvious, which I was just thinking like this is just a movie about how the Kardashians are fleecing all of us with because we pay attention to them at all.
That's the theme of the movie, but we just put it in the 70s.
Right, just don't click on their Instagram stuff when they stop making money, guys. Just stop. Just leave them alone. Just ignore them. It's easy. What are we doing? Anyway, that's cool. All right, I like that. I can see that being interesting.
It's not as exciting as Rally Point was, though. And that's kind of like, effectively, we're just going through a lot of ultimatums.
We are. Yes.
We're going to skip over Pacifico, Clara from Adam. We're getting to Pupil de la du Soleil, the Eye of the Sun.
Who is that? That might be what it is. Sure.
From A la Derive Brewery.
Yes.
I'm going to say Language Beer. I mean, like, Eye of the Sun, probably a great fun beer, but
Probably is.
I don't know what it doesn't.
Also, we could be wrong.
It's
and
not
it could mean
Eyes like l'oreille in French, so I don't know. Maybe it's Pupil of the Sun.
It could be.
Who knows? Please tell me. I'll Google it later.
Yeah, we'll Google it later, but you can also yell at us online if you want.
Next up from Tank, Noble Ale Works Big Whig IPA.
Big Wig. Oh my gosh. I mean, this is like some kind of political thriller. It could be big. What were you thinking? Like a business big wig or like
I was thinking of an old man that owns a lot of gas stations.
That's right.
I don't know why.
They call me Diesel Dan. You fill it up in the Pacific Northwest, you're paying me. Yeah. I own them all. Diesel Dan. Okay, let's do that. He's just some gas, not a oil tycoon, a gas station tycoon. Just jacking up all the prices on pretzels and hot dogs and make sure everything always costs a nickel more at all of his stores. So that's the big wig Diesel Dan. And this has to be a David and Goliath type story. You know, some mom and pop shop opens up kind of a co-op gas station that uses recycled, what is it, grease from your local diner to fuel your cars. And at first, big wig Diesel Dan ignores them, but then they start to grow and it becomes like a turf war type
Send someone to buy them out.
Right. And they say, no, they don't need it. But maybe here we go. They could take a kind of Walter White Breaking Bad turn where you know, the whole time, everyone thinks Diesel Dan's just being like an egomaniac. Like, come on, the world's big enough for multiple gas stations. But he's like, no, really, they're growing too fast. Like, what are their margins? How are they able to open up store after store? Turns out the mom and pop, you know, earthy, crusty gas station, big front for the drugs. They're moving kilos of, you know, of white dancing lady powder through there every day. That's where they're making most of their money. And so then Diesel Dan has a choice. You know, do I maybe risk my life and my business by stopping these folks and kind of be a good guy? Or do I let them keep growing and let them force me out that way? So he really doesn't have a choice. You got to do something. And so then it becomes a cool, kind of a dark Ozarky Breaking Bad type show where Bigwig Diesel Dan and the Granola brothers face off.
Jen and Barry.
Yep, Jen and Barry Granola. They face off and have shootouts and try to blow up each other's gas stations, and it becomes like that could be a long TV show, like The Wire or something. There could be more there than we realized when Bigwig popped up. Good old Diesel Dan didn't know what he stuck his nose into. Till it blew up in his face.
I feel like I've totally lost the bigwigness of it.
Yeah, you're right.
Other than maybe Dan wears a wig, which I think has to happen in this film now.
Has to. Dark black mullet
Why
wig.
the fuck did they call it bigwig? Oh, he gets shot and his wig flies off, and you're like,
right.
Oh, now I see why I paid the money to come here. And watch this.
Maybe the wig is. This is really gross, but also hilarious. It's like so the small town or the area they live in used to have a great entrepreneur named Bob, and everyone called him Bob Bigwig, and he opened every grocery store in the area, and he won the best local business award every year for like 20 years, gave most of his money away, and in response, the community was like, let's honor Bob by giving away the Bigwig Award each year to the best local business owner.
Okay,
but it's an actual wig. It's Bob's
actual hair
wig that you get, and for whatever reason, the community doesn't think it's weird or gross, and it's really sought after, and so they're challenging Diesel Dan's. You know, it's almost a given every year that he gets the big wig, and now these drug running hippies are coming through and threatening to steal the big wig away from Diesel Dan, who loves this dead guy's hair.
You did it. You worked it in.
Thank you for reminding me that we really kind of left Bigwig on the side of the road there, which was a mistake.
I don't love it, but it makes more sense now.
It's disgusting, but Bigwig is definitely the name of that show.
All right, next one's going to be good. I can feel it.
Oh boy.
Oh god, it's another 1 minute. Okay. The next one after that is going to be good.
Here we go.
I can feel it.
John can feel it in his bones.
Oh man, it's another different
language.
Dub.
Think about how many other languages there are in the world when we started this show.
Okay, the next one that's good is going to be good. I can agree. Feel it. Thai. The shattered remains of nothingness from Burial.
Oh, Burial, you've done every time. We love your beer, but every time you give us this Rubik's Cube.
The shattered remains of nothingness. It's another
shattered,
everything everywhere, huge philosophical.
Shattered remains of nothingness. Nothingness. Shattered remains. Mal. This isn't really a movie, but I'll just start talking. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit. This isn't it's a Western in the same way that Star Wars is a Western. That's like a space Western. So this is my idea. It's like maybe this takes place at the birth of the universe, and we learn that the universe is just an explosion of some super sophisticated intelligence blew itself up, the shattered remains of nothingness, and scattered itself all over the universe, and the early gods of the universe were trying to piece them back together. And I don't know where the story is. Maybe one of them is we shouldn't do this, he probably blew himself up for a reason, and I don't know where the story is. I don't know how to make it. But the Marvel kind of did it with the Eternals. It wasn't this deep or abstract. That's as close to a movie as I can get from the shattered remains of nothingness.
Okay, so what you're saying is a prominent theory in how the universe was formed, though.
Correct.
So you're right on track.
Maybe I'm correct.
So it's about a very wealthy married couple.
Oh, here we go.
Like so many marriages, especially I think, as Hollywood would tell me, when you inject wealth, the marriage becomes more and more shallow, less and less about the marriage, more about, keeping face and all that stuff. So this marriage has kind of been watered down to where these two people hate each other, but it would be very expensive to part ways.
Got it.
And they've got a family as well. And
this is great.
The husband probably has to get painted as a bad guy. Maybe the wife too. They're both probably bad people.
Right.
And eventually they decide that since divorce isn't an option, they have to have the other one killed. And they both get this idea around the same time. And so like she's off on business, he's away with a hooker or something. And the hitman shows up and both the husband and wife are killed. And the kids hear about this. One of the kids decides to take their own life. And you've got this prominent family from the outside that's now just reduced to like one shell of a teenage boy that has inherited a gutload of trauma and a couple of bank accounts.
Right, exactly right. But really, he's gotten nothing. He has no family. He has no grandparents. He has no connection to his past. He kind of just grows up in this big house he doesn't know anything about. And people keep, oh, you're one of the... You're a Smith, the Smith boy, aren't you? Great things your family did, but all he knows is pain.
Just the shattered remains of nothingness.
Shattered remains of nothingness. Right? What happens when you, take something devoid of love and blow it up and destroy your whole family with it? Nothing good. Thanks for the thanks Burial for reminding us.
Yeah, great beer maker's Burial.
Amazing.
But I've never written a happy ending.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Disney's not going to hire that many times for the next Pixar movie.
I guess Surf Wax. They did good with Surf Wax.
You're right.
That was fun.
Via con Dios.
Okay,
right.
Next up on the agenda from
got?
Alan, volatile substance from Von Ebert Brewery.
Yes, volatile substance. I mean, man, this could be either or. This could be a Western. This could be a crime. It could be the origin story of dynamite being created. TNT. So, which is actually a horribly tragic story. I happen to know what it is. I don't want to get into it right now.
You've done your porn research. Enlighten me.
That's right. I missed that, but I know how dynamite was made. It could be like a story about that.
This is our Oppenheimer. It's just smaller scale.
It's a crazy. I think the scientist's name was Fritz Haber, and the process to create. He was a Jewish scientist in Poland before World War I and II, and the same process they used to make dynamite. He also created nitrogen. Ammonia synthesis, which is what allows us to grow all the food we grow in all like commercial farming and stuff, which is also used to make dynamite, which is also used to create Zyklon B, which is like the gas that the Nazis used during the Holocaust, and it killed his entire family. He was a Jewish person in Poland. They all got captured, and the gas he created wiped out his entire family.
That's the shattered remains of nothingness.
That is the shattered remains of nothingness. That was an NPR thing I listened to driving back from college many years ago that clearly stuck with me because won the Nobel Prize but had a life full of tragedy. So someone should make the movie about that guy. It was kind of fascinating. He is why we all have bread in every grocery store and are able to grow, corn and wheat on the same fields again and again. But bad people got a hold of his technology and use it for bad stuff. Volatile substance indeed.
Wow, that's heavy.
That is heavy. We don't usually do heavy here, but maybe you'll learn something. And I mean, if patent pending, we want this movie. If someone's like, this is a good idea,
dibs.
Come to us. We'll write it, even though it's heavy and dark. We do need another Oppenheimer, and this story is ready to go.
Yeah, it sounds rife with people crying.
Right, with people crying, lots of sadness.
Which is good. If you can't make them laugh, make them cry.
That's what my parents
my
always
relationship
said.
advice to you. Oh, here's one built for Westerns. This one comes from Brett
Here we go.
by Azee Meads.
Okay.
But the beer mead in this case is called But It's a Dry Heat.
Classic. Okay, but it's a dry heat. It just could keep coming back to Rally Point in my mind now, but it's a dry heat. This could just be man.
Could like a Western settlement accidentally set up in Arizona and had the hottest summer on record, and families are, when you don't have anything, it's hot, we don't have AC or probably even power lines up at that point. So you grow desperate to make your family comfortable, even if that means eliminating the family next door. I'm not sure, but
I like that. Only so much water comes out of the well, especially, and the whole joke of the movie is everyone's kind of trying to downplay that. Oh, but it's a dry heat. It's a dry heat. It's a dry heat. But they're all freaking out and all plotting to kill their neighbors because someone let it out that we got only about 2 weeks left of water in this well. And so the town just plots everyone to murder each other. I like this. A lot of our movies come out.
Yeah, it's too. Ice Melter wasn't far enough ago where I think that's a little too close to
Okay,
it.
fair enough. But I like the idea. And thanks
moving
for that.
down, Bob P gives us Nectaron in this economy. Another one from Green Cheek Beer Company.
That you could almost say is too beery with Nectaron being a hop, but and an
or
expensive
sci-fi
one.
movie. Yeah.
Or oh man.
Could have been. Anyways, we're gonna scroll past that. We got Hallertau Pills. That's very beery.
It might be almost ultimatum time with if Raleigh Point is what we like. Maybe we can. Give ourselves a few more.
I got one that I landed on that's good, and then we'll say two more goods, and if we don't find a winner, it's Rally Point.
It's Rally Point. All right, let's see.
Okay, so starting with the first good.
What's it called? The ultimatums are like 0 for 5 or whatever, 0 for 3, so we'll see what happens tonight. What do we got?
Usually that ultimatum tells me that I really needed my banana whale, which tonight is Rally Point.
It's Rally Point, I know.
So Sean gives us, from Texas Ale Project, Something Shady.
This is the immediate thought is pun again, Western, something shady. This is a band of misfits that were promised. Yep, due west, there'll be an oasis. You can hide there and be safe in the shade of the trees. And turns out that oasis is a small, forgotten, basically pirate village that they have to like fight their way into, full of outlaws and other bandits, and not the oasis they thought, rather a shady place, but not in the way they were hoping to find.
A misinterpretation of the word shady.
Correct. I'm all about the puns.
Old Western pirate town too.
That's right. Just singing and drinking.
Scurvy dogs.
Right. They have no water, but somehow tons of booze and beer is being made there. But you got to prioritize. It's the Old West. Probably dangerous to drink water. That's what I got. Something shady. A crazy pirate cowboy town.
I like the name, but nothing jumps at me from
There's
that.
no story there.
Okay. So, Rally Point, 1 point for them. Next up, Val Valentine.
Val Valentine
from Matt. This is made by History Class Brewing Company.
Interesting.
That's a cool name. I hope
a cool name.
Val Valentine is like a history lesson.
I was going to say, it sounds like Val Valentine was probably a real person, even though I thought Valentine was just something Hallmark made up. What do I know? Val Valentine. I mean, is this the origin story of Valentine's Day? Val is always the bridesmaid, never the bride, and decides to do something about it.
Val Valentine. I mean, it's a catchy name.
Maybe she. And here we go. Here's this. This is a silly, not really a crime or western, but let's say Val Valentine inherits her family's bankrupt greeting card business.
Yeah.
And it's like, what am I going to do with all these blank cards with roses and butterflies and people kissing on them? And somehow through a series of ridiculous events learns that it's not that hard to create a federal holiday, invents Valentine's Day, and becomes a billionaire selling Valentine's cards. Boom, Val Valentine, scheming from the start. And that the tagline could be, love for sale or something,
like
something like, a little shady.
Love comes at a cost.
Right, exactly right. The real price of love will scare you or something like that.
I like that too.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I have for Val Valentine.
I like the idea that Val Valentine is like a sort of Annie Oakley, super Western badass, but then we have to basically write a whole Western movie, and we just had the character's name. That's okay. So we're down to we got one more ultimatum, and next on the list I see one of my favorite Untappd users of all time, Trash.
Oh, Trash, a legend, a local legend.
In similar vein, Trash from Resident Culture, great brewery, drinking Motivations of the Heart.
Motivations of the Heart, an IPA from Resident Culture. Motivations. Oh man,
yeah, there's bones here.
Sure, absolutely, but Motivations of the Heart. Boom, 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 boom.
Did you see that movie with Mike Myers forever ago that I think everyone forgot about called So I Married an Axe Murderer?
Yes, when he does the slam poetry and the
So my first thought is like it's the story of a man or a woman serial dater. What's it called?
Monogamist.
But the serial monogamist from one to the next, right? Because they can never find the right person.
Sure.
Because they kill them.
Or
maybe.
Oh, this is fun. Yeah. Every time they fall in love with somebody, they end up murdering them because they're a psychopath. That feels kind of like that show You, where he stalks girls and like inserts himself in their lives, but a lot of people die. So I guess it's different. No, I like this. I like where we're going here, where it's right. He sees his own worst enemy, can never find true love, but then. Why would he kill them? We'd have to figure that out.
Motivations of the Heart.
Right.
I don't know how to translate that.
Then what? So when he finds his banana whale or whatever, when he finds his Craven Point Buffalo, why is she different? Why can't he kill her? It could be kind of like that movie The Matador with Pierce Brosnan, where he's a old aging hitman and can't go through with his last job and he can't figure out why, and that's the whole movie he's trying to figure out like what's going on. Did I grow conscious after doing this for years? Could be something like that. Kind of becomes aware of what he's doing. I also kind of like the Hannibal Lecter-ness of like he's just hungry for human hearts and a cannibal, and we've got like a Jack the Ripper in the 21st century type person here. And so maybe it's that. If we're going crime, it's more that the person doing the killing, we don't know who that is. That's the mystery of the movie, and it's oh my gosh, pick your cop out of a bag. It's the new rookie agent and the older Nick Nolte half in the bag, last week until retirement detective paired up to hunt down the what's the Johnny Heartthrob or whatever they've named this guy in the papers who kills women on their first date and literally steals their heart.
Yes. Ooh, this is good. I don't know the name of him yet, but I'm going to stop you there. Ooh. And I'm going to stop you listening, and I'm going to put it on the table. I almost wish we were doing this live, like call in now.
Yeah, but I know. Shoot.
What do you think, Harrison? Rally Point, which is going to be a fun kind of Western bank rob. The gang was double crossed, and we have to follow the steps to figure out what happened.
Yep.
Or Motivations of the Heart. We've got a new serial killer who's stealing the hearts of women, literally. And two cops that need to try and get to the bottom of it.
Oh, one a crime, one a Western. So we did it. Oh, no, this is the hardest one, John. This is the hardest one we had to pick. Shoot.
I mean, I'm leaning more towards one, slightly. It's the heart one.
All right, let's do it. Let's do heart. Let's do heart. This is every episode. There's a Powder Jones, a second place finish. Sorry, Rally Point. No, let's do motivations of the heart. I think that's cool. Oh, Rally Point would be a lot of fun. But we can let that one marinate out there on the internet, and maybe someday I'll throw this out there. We should probably do a runners-up episode, a viewer choice. Take that Fast Five and turn it into a movie.
Yeah, I like that. We'll go to the polls for that one. Maybe like episode 10 or something.
Second chances are, we're fine with that. But I think tonight we're going to find out a little more about motivations of the heart.
You asked for it. We're making it. Next week, Motivations of the Heart, a crime film.
Woo!